yeah, congrats on the Big Ten title. But again, you were gifted that championship. Tampa has a bigger sense of urgency to win because, as I mentioned, else on any roster, any given, but it's just more so the one page that I've been looking at all night and stuff of that nature. We sacked 70 times this of Simmons and Embiid trying to fall for the network. The conference Oilers went to Tennessee and became the Titan. The NBA had, Major League Soccer had, the W. If the Bears don't reach It's been a long time coming. 8 years in the making, folks, and welcome back inside of my original solo multi-hour sports podcast, folks, here live on the MI6 Sports Network. The Sports Lounge, after 8 years of being closed, is officially back open for business. Hello, everybody, and a pleasant good Tuesday evening, and welcome into the first program of the Sports Lounge on the brand new revamped lineup here that is for the MI6 Sports Network. Again, Callan McClurg joining you folks here for the first of many Tuesday programs of multi-hour sports coverage, talking all the big headlines from the local level to the national level, and of course, taking your live input, your questions, and your comments throughout the course of our program here. Again, folks, starting on this Tuesday and going forward for the duration of our time together here over the course of the next several weeks. But again, everybody, a pleasant good evening. And once again, wanted to shout out all the fellows here at the MI6 Sports Network, but also as well the crew yesterday, Shareable Stephen Wang, John Alcorn, and Isaiah Leung for still getting our first program off the ground for the new year on Monday, as both I was away with work, and also our good man John Mathis was also away due to the birth of his daughter over the weekend. And congratulations to John and Denise on the birth of their daughter. And again, we wish them all the best here on this Tuesday. Folks, I wanted to kind of give me a few minutes, if you can, to kind of answer this question. And that's more so is, why is this podcast back? And again, folks, it's going to be a multi-hour show here. Plenty of discussion. We'll be leading off our coverage, of course, with the whole thing about the Eagles and Doug Peterson, and plenty of other things, though, as our show does go on. Again, it's a multi-hour program here up until 10 o'clock this evening. So again, sit back, relax, and enjoy some great vibes here on the program. But more so wanted to kind of address this elephant in the room, though, about why is this podcast of mine coming back after being away for 8 years? More so it came to me, though, folks, earlier in the pandemic shutdown. If you have known me for a while, I was doing this sort of one-man solo podcast for the Quarantine Network back in March all the way till roughly the end of November, where I was basically updating people for half an hour, 15 minutes, or 45 minutes and talking about the big news in sports, from when sports shut down to when sports were coming back to when games got back to being played and stuff of that nature. And I thought to myself, you know, I did this podcast. If you have out there have known me for a long time, you know pretty well this podcast of mine was more of a way for me to practice before I got into college during my 1 year away between high school and going to broadcasting school. It was a way for me to kind of get my feet wet with the industry. And, you know, we had some great times. You know, it was at a different residence, obviously. It was a lot of different things going on and moving parts with it. But it was very fun. But it was a long program, covered a lot of local teams, a lot of the national news. It dragged on for a while. And, you know, I had a lot of great former co-hosts of mine who kind of came and went during the course of the program. And I kind of thought, though, as our network here, the MI6 Sports Network, kind of went in a new direction to kick off this new slate of revamped programming, was, you know, what can we do to kind of fill that Tuesday time slot? Because Isaiah and myself have moved our late night talk show, the night shift, to just the weekend starting as of this week. And that Tuesday time slot came open, and I thought, you know what? To keep me on the same schedule where I'm on the network every day but Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, let's go back to the roots. Let's kind of throw things back a bit and go to where we once were, and where I once was and were 7-8 years ago with me kind of being out of high school, kind of getting my feet wet in the industry. And now here we are, folks, with the Sports Lounge back and better than ever here on the MI6 Sports Network every Tuesday night, 8 o'clock Pacific time up until 10 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock. But again, we're going to try to keep it at about an hour and a half, 2-hour program to, again, let you folks enjoy the program and also chime in on your input or with your input as well as the show does go on. But of course, everybody, if you know me very well, this is a viewer-driven program, much like all of our shows are here on the MI6 Sports Network. So again, folks, light up that chat box. Keep me sane. Again, I'll do my best to make sure that those are read live on the air. But again, find me on Facebook, and of course, you can follow me on Twitter as well, at CallanMac3 or at CallanMacSports on Twitter. We're also, folks, going to do our best to bring back the Sports Lounge Facebook page and Twitter account as this program does, in fact, get back on its feet. And that Twitter handle will be at CM Sports Lounge, my initials, and then the word Sports Lounge, when in fact that Twitter account does get restarted and get back online as the program does going on. Some viewer comments already from my man Tyler Work. A new lounge, very nice. Did anybody else get charged a cover at the door? We don't charge cover here when in fact the lounge is open. And John Alcorn says, simple but love it, man. And again, I thank you viewers, and again, thank all the folks out there for tuning in and whatnot here this evening. Of course, folks, again, that chat box is open throughout the duration of the program. Now, a quick little heads up here, folks, about how the show is actually going to work. We'll go for a solid hour, but at the top of the hour, every program on Tuesday, we'll take a quick break to kind of give me a chance to recoup, catch my breath, get something to drink, and come back for the final hour of the program. And also, as the program does kind of start to get get familiar with everybody, we will in fact bring guests on here. As mentioned, majority of our MI6 hosts will join me for maybe 15 minutes or so in the second hour of the program, starting probably next week, maybe the week after. But also, they'll be reaching out to some guests, though, locally, nationally, media members, athletes, you name it. We have all that, folks, planned and lined up, though. But again, we are a Delta pilot trying not to crash land on our first night on the job here inside the MI6 Sports Network. So again, we'll do our best, folks, to have plenty of great things coming your way as the show does in fact start tonight, but also grow and grow and grow as much as the MI6 Sports Network has. With that, folks, the obvious talking point, though, from the final week of the NFL's regular season, of course, is what happened with the Washington football team and the Philadelphia Eagles game, where, of course, we saw Jalen Hurts get pulled in this ball game for the third-string quarterback. And now, folks, Doug Peterson is having his feet put to the fire with, again, how this situation was handled by the Eagles head coach. Let's first, though, folks, get to some sound and hear what Coach Peterson had to say for himself in his defense about this game on Sunday.
Yes, I was coaching to win. Yes, that was my decision solely. Nate has obviously been here for 4 years, and I felt that he deserved an opportunity to get some snaps. And listen, if there's anything out there that thinks that I was not trying to win the game, I mean, Ertz is out there, Brandon Graham's out there, Darius Slay's out there. All our top guys are still on the field at the end. So we were going to win the game.
Very interesting remarks, folks, from Doug Peterson, the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. As mentioned, the Eagles lose this game. But more so, it's puzzling, I think, for sports fans out there, maybe even for Eagles fans who have been stuck in the mud with this very bizarre quarterback situation as time has really gone on. But mainly the question here is the main reaction to Doug Peterson and the Eagles. For me, more so, it's a very alarming comments made by how this had gone on with Doug Peterson, but also that I think a lot of us were dumbfounded. If you watch this game on Sunday, if you maybe were a casual viewer watching this game, is in my defense, or not my defense, but more so from my perspective, though, as someone, again, playing sports and kind of going through these woes of great seasons, bad seasons, is the last person on any roster that should be the last guy to nail in the coffin is your head coach. To me, that shows a lack of leadership and a lack of accountability, especially in my mind, when you are going from, as mentioned, the starting quarterback in Jalen Hurts, where it's the third string quarterback coming in. To me, this really rubs me the wrong way. And I've been trying to kind of put put the pieces together here, both the broadcaster, the athlete perspective, but more so the athlete mindset for me, though, weighs a lot more heavier, if you ask me, because probably during the course of a season, any sport, any level, you have guys that probably kind of give up on the season. But I think the last person that anybody out there, athletes, coaches, GMs, even fans out there, the last person that anyone involved with an organization wants to see kind of throw the white flag and surrender is the team's head coach. The team GM is probably close, but more so for me, it's the coach. The main guy in charge for me, that is the last person I would ever imagine saying, hey, let's blow the game. Let's not win this game. And that move right there, because I think I had just gotten back from walking my dog when I had heard the news that Jalen Hurts was pulled for the third string quarterback, but also about the Eagles offense. This, I believe, is a 50-50 split of the blame. Maybe majority in my mind goes on Doug Peterson, but also about how this offense has been mishandled throughout the course of this NFL season. Carson Wentz is not performing well. Obviously, he has not been the same since the ACL injury he suffered when they won the Super Bowl over the Pats 2 or 3 years ago. But also that Doug Peterson, more so for me, rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Rubbed me the wrong way as a former athlete, and probably rubbed a lot of you football fans the wrong way. But also, I would even think it'd be the Giants fans out there who, again, had to have Washington lose this game to go into the postseason as a 6-10 division winner. And, for one, that starts another chapter of the Giants-Eagles rivalry next season. But also, to me, more so that my reaction to this is gut-wrenching, mindless, clueless, spineless, heartless, you name it, more so puzzling and more so frustrated. Because, like I've said those so many times, I think you would agree, though, the last person you want to see say, I give up, I surrender on any team at any level is the team's head coach. Now, maybe there's probably some exceptions to the rule this year. Jacksonville, the Jets, maybe Detroit with them blowing out Matt Patricia, the Falcons blowing out Dan Quinn. But to me, though, even for a team like the Eagles, who had absolutely nothing to play for, there were teams that had nothing to play for on Sunday, but teams like the Jags still played their game. Obviously, they ended up losing, though, but they kept it close. But my point, though, about that is there were teams that were dead, buried, and gone, and they still played that game like they were treating it like it was a win and go to the postseason situation, not play this conservative football and, get the third string quarterback reps. I don't buy that at all. For me right there, there is something fishy. Now, I don't think it's worth perhaps overreacting about it's a tank job or it's intentionally being done or anything of that magnitude. But it does, I think, though, raise the concern, though, about maybe a little gamesmanship more so. But for me, it's more puzzling because more so that this, to me, though, I think defines that what a way for Doug Peterson to probably lose his job. Because we've already, folks, have heard a lot of reports coming out over the past day or so of Carson Wentz says, I'm out of here. I want out of here. I know about the contract, but I'm done. That his relationship with Doug Peterson and the Eagles organization has been totally blown into pieces. I mean, it's over. I mean, in my mind, it is over. And Jeffrey Luria, the owner of the Eagles, is, man, this is not a very good look right now for this organization. This is not a good look because of Wentz and the contract, the injury problems and whatnot. But not just that, though. This, I think, is probably the straw that breaks the camel's back for Doug Peterson's time in Philadelphia, especially when it's done in a market where it is you live and die with sports. Ted Leitner, folks, can say this a lot better than I can because he worked in Philly. He's from that part of the country. And he went and worked in Philadelphia in local television. And he basically said the emails he'd get, or more so the voicemails he'd get, was just people ripping this guy to shreds because it's Phillies, Flyers, Eagles. That is it. There is no exception, and it's life and death back there, as opposed to maybe some other markets in the sports world. But folks, give me your thoughts here. What was your reaction to this? And also, who's probably the odd man out here? Doug Peterson? Is it Carson Wentz? Or are both these guys probably, in your mind, going to be heading somewhere else? Give me your thoughts on that, and we'll do our best to read some of that commentary. Plenty of thoughts about this real quick. First and foremost, my man Cameron writing in with the GOAT emoji. Also, he says, it is lit. And Cam also says, watching the gold medal stream, guy streaming has made $380 off of viewers. Crazy. Well, more about that game, folks. USA, Canada, the IIHF World Junior Championship gold medal game is going on here between Team USA and Canada up at Rogers Place up in Edmonton, Alberta. Also, Christian Enciso saying hello to everybody out there. James also saying as well. Here we go as well. Cam, I agree, though. Trash Peterson in a trash division. Very happy for Alex Smith. I mean, Cam, I agree, though. I mean, if there are two people out there that any football fan out there should be extremely proud of and happy for, it's Alex Smith and it's Ron Rivera. Both these guys overcoming some major health ramifications. Again, Alex Smith and the broken leg, the 17 surgeries, the near loss of his leg, working himself back to playing shape, and of course, Coach Rivera going through cancer treatment as this game and as this year had gone on. I don't think Cam could have said it any better. And Cam also chimes in one more time. Eagles fans, they are in hiding again. More so, I agree. And I think that more so, I think, Cam, more so for me, this becomes a boiling point that it's a very sticky situation for Jeffrey Loria, the owner of the Eagles, though. Okay, is it the coach? Is it the quarterback? What is who's the odd man out more so is what I kind of keep saying is going to be the main breaking point here for the Eagles. But more so, I think that there's reluctance. This might sound ludicrous, but there's reluctance, I'd say, with the Eagles and Wentz because of that contract. I mean, are you really going to pay a guy $150 million or however much he's paid to sit the bench for Jalen Hurts? I mean, it's going to have to become, it's a very tough bullet to bite, if you ask me, because of that salary, the cap hit, you name it, but to have him riding on the bench, very, very sticky situation at this rate. And also as well, James says, Peterson made the QB change like it was a preseason game. That's what I think more so is very disturbing about this. And I know that a lot of people have kind of, in a way, kind of said maybe integrity of the game is kind of in question here. Maybe, but I don't know if there's really stock that needs to be added to that. But I do think, though, that it is worth questioning the mindset. Why would you go the route, though, of making the switch to a third-string quarterback? Where, again, more so, like I said, though, James, it's puzzling to me, though, because teams that didn't have anything to play for on Sunday went out there and still played like their playoff lives were on the line. So I don't buy it one bit, but it's weird. It's a very interesting balancing act going on right now between the Eagles and the ownership. James also chimes in, I have an odd feeling that Doug made the QB change so Ron Rivera could get into the postseason. Possible. But I do think, though, James, it still kind of in a way shines that light, though, that negative spotlight onto, integrity of the game, tanking for a better draft selection. They went up 2 spots, I think. I mean, perhaps, but I still... There's something else going on. And again, this, folks, to me, is a lot like the Steven Silas hiring by the Rockets in the NBA for a head coach. There's got to be more to this story. James, this could be, though, a situation, though. I mean, call me crazy here, man. This might be an instance, though, perhaps, of where this came from ownership, or it came from the front office saying, hey, make the switch and we're done with it. Again, we've seen that sometimes in baseball during the World Series and during certain playoff series where more so the general managers kind of dictate how managers make their lineups. This could have been a GM move as well, where, hey, get this guy into the game or whatnot. But again, the way too many questions to be answered at this rate, James. And also he says maybe a new offensive system on another team will work for Carson Wentz. I would think so. And also, James, it goes back to my longtime argument of change of scenery, always helping out athletes. We'll see how things go. John Alcorn chimes in. The coach is the problem. After that decision, no player whatsoever trusts Doug Peterson again and again. We're to the point, though, as John, Stephen, and Isaiah had said on Monday on Wild Sports Talk, 2 reports, folks, or at least reports coming out that 2 players had to be restrained from going to confront head coach Doug Peterson. That, to me, right there signals a mutiny. That right there is very alarming, that now you have players turning their backs on Doug Peterson. That, I think, further, Alcorn and further viewers out there, to me, that further diminishes his time right now in Philadelphia. Christy Wilson also chimes in. She says Wentz might get dealt, but the Eagles are going to have to give up a lot, in her opinion. More so, it's that, but also, Christy, the financial terms. Yikes. I mean, that contract is just not a good look right now. Major salary cap hit right now is on the plate for the Eagles. She also says that the Eagles tanking doesn't surprise me if true. Again, I'm not going to put all my eggs in the, all the eggs in the basket, or for that matter, put all the champagne in one bucket of ice on the first show of a sports lounge and say that they tanked. It's possible, but I don't know really if it is a tank job, if it's a front office move that was kind of in a way forced upon Doug Peterson. And folks, we don't know. I don't know. You don't know. We don't know right now, but it could be, it's 20 questions. And again, we'll see how things do in fact go. John also says that it is Doug Peterson's cocky attitude. He wrote a book right after the Super Bowl that just shows you his character and leadership all together. Probably some slight arrogance, I'd say, too, as well, Mr. Alcorn. And he also says change of scenery won't change Carson Wentz and his injury-prone history. Definitely not for sure. We'll see how things go. But sadly, John, I've kind of been there myself. When you're coming off injury or coming off being sick and getting back to play, not fun. It's not fun at all whatsoever. And also as well that you sometimes think about it sometimes. That's kind of been me over the past several months, John, is getting back to playing roller hockey after 15 years, basically, of being away from the sport. It's in the back of your mind, though, about maybe, in my mind at least, my knees, because they dislocate every so often, and kind of in a way having your foot stuck in a skate kind of adds a bit more to that, like, fear, I'd say. But that's along the lines of Carson Wentz, though, too, in my mind, is when you've had a, ACL tear, that sticks with you. And injuries of any type, though, Alcorn, I'd also say, stay with you for a long time, in that you probably don't penetrate in basketball a lot. You probably don't drop back as far as you did in football, and stuff of that caliber as well. So we'll see how things go. Tyler Work also says real quick, he says, Callan, I could totally see this being a front office call. Nothing to play for. Keep next year's QB healthy. Get a better draft pick. Again, I probably side Tyler with that logic more than, they just bombed the game, because what other reasons might in fact be. But again, this is a very, in a way, not really toxic, but a very unsettling thing right now brewing in the NFL. Kind of a sidebar story right now to how things have been right now in the NFL. A good evening to my man, Casey King, joining us from down in Arizona. And also, as well, James is saying, I wonder if Jalen Hurts was one of the 2 players going after Peterson. James, the breaking point for me in this ball game is that drive where they had it right on the goal line. How do you go for it on 4th down and not convert when you're down 3 points? Take the field goal and go into halftime tied. Don't go there trying to be extra flashy and extra fancy and try to convert a touchdown because of, and again, I know that analytics, James, is running football. It's ruining baseball. It's kind of ruining basketball now. But to me, though, take the points. Don't ride the hot quarterback who has had, great success in the red zone, because eventually, a defense is going to sniff them out. And if there's one thing in Washington's football history that I know a little bit about, is they've always been known for defense, whether it's been against the Bills in the Super Bowl or, their defensive lines or their great defense. this was kind of, in a way, I'd say a heavyweight battle between two great lines on offense and on defense, but that Washington and Chase Young, they have, I think, looked very good throughout the stretch of the season. But I would think, though, that maybe not Jalen going after Peterson, James, but probably some pent-up frustration, maybe some boiling frustration that he probably had to kind of, in a way, bottle it up, because the last thing you want to do is be that guy or be the guy seen kind of popping off or going after your coach. And it's the last thing you want to have happen. And James also says that to him, Jalen looked mad and confused on the sideline. Dazed and confused. What can I do? John Alcorn also says that us redheads have to stick together, laughing out loud. And Isaiah Leung says, "A welcome back to the Sports Lounge. Been waiting for the new season for the last 8 years. I have a beard now, unlike the last time I watched the program." Isaiah, I didn't even know you 8 years ago. And James also further says, usually coaches go for it on fourth down in games that don't matter, just like preseason games. Or if you are playing on Madden 21, you go for it on fourth down, regardless of how, in fact, your ball club is doing. With that, folks, as wildcard weekend approaches, some bad news for the Cleveland Browns, as Kevin Stefanski plus two players and perhaps another coach will be out for the upcoming game against the Steelers due to the nature of some positive COVID-19 tests that have, of course, been administered over the past couple days or so. This, of course, is on the heels, though, of the Browns clinching their first playoff berth in 18 years, with them beating the backups for Pittsburgh at the Dog Pound in Cleveland 24-22, and, of course, get a third matchup with the Steelers in Pittsburgh on Wild Card Weekend. Folks, I will say this. There may not be one team in my mind in the NFL who has had worse luck with COVID than the Cleveland Browns. I mean, the Ravens, the Steelers, the Bears, the Niners, but to me, it seems like that almost weekly, sadly, this whole season. I might be wrong on this, but to me, it kind of seemed like that every week or every 2 weeks, there was always an issue with the Browns. And they had to, of course, go into, shutdowns, with their practice facility, stuff like that, though. But now, though, folks are talking about a COVID outbreak or COVID issues at the worst possible time. And sadly, and further, this, I think, adds on to the sadness and the utter failure, sadly, of Cleveland sports. That something great happens, like the Browns going to the playoffs for the first time since 2002. And something like this comes along and kind of rains on the parade of the long-suffering Browns faithful. Again, Ryan Schreiner, again, our main Browns fan here on the network. And now, the only thing here that maybe is a saving grace right now is that it's two players, but more so it's a coaching staff issue. But at the same time, though, Kevin Stefanski, who I believe is probably my front runner right now for Coach of the Year, is not going to be able to coach this ball game. This, I think, is a pretty big blow. Now, I know that you're probably saying, this is apples to oranges, man. Why are you saying one thing about one coach and then this coach? For one, the Eagles were playing for nothing. And that the issues, to me, with that last segment we had, fall solely or mainly on Peterson. But with this one, though, I think hurts more so of not having your coach there to lead the way. Because, unlike Doug Peterson, Kevin Stefanski, in my mind, has done, for one, a hell of a job in Cleveland, resurrecting that incompetent ball club. But also that losing the coach, though, to COVID is a big-time blow. We've seen a couple of teams go through that already where they've had no head coach. We've seen Nick Saban not coaching games due to the nature of him having COVID over the past several, or at least a few of the weeks, though. But at the same time, though, this could be a little, not really devastating. I'm not going to go full-blown disaster yet, but in a way, a little bit concerning that there's going to be no Stefanski. Two players, I believe, are also out, and also a couple of the members of the coaching staff are also not going to be able to partake in their coaching duties come Sunday or come Saturday. But it does, though, I think, put maybe some extra pressure, I think, on the Browns. Again, that may sound ludicrous to you out there, but you're coming off, obviously, breaking the NFL's longest active, or at the time, the longest active playoff drought. But now, again, you're going into the third game of the year now against the bitter rival Steelers. And now, of course, Connor's going to be back. Juju's going to be back. Big Ben's going to be back. But now, can you go into Pittsburgh, known to, I think, a lot of us football fans out there, as probably one of the single toughest places to play in the NFL is in Pittsburgh, with fans, with no fans. But something about Pittsburgh just kind of, in a way, gets mentally up here. And I've said that too for a bit, though, as well, is in sports, folks, you probably agree, though, there's certain buildings, certain arenas, certain stadiums that your team does not play well in. For example, in my case, the Lakers historically never play well in Portland at Moda Center / the Rose Garden. That's their own personal hell. And for some teams, Pittsburgh just seems to be where they go to lose. Maybe New Orleans, maybe Green Bay and Chicago in the wintertime, if you're in the playoffs playing those two programs or those two schools, those two teams, I should say, with the playoff experience. And again, the lore and nostalgia of playing in Green Bay or Chicago in January with the snow falling and the below zero temperatures. But with Cleveland, though, to me, this season for me, though, regardless of how it finishes, and I think a lot of people have it ending against the Steelers in round one. To me, though, this is a successful season for the Browns, and one that I believe puts this franchise back on the right track after 18 years of misery. Quarterback drafts, drafting quarterbacks, GMs being blown out, coaches, 0-16 seasons, the paper bags, you name it, all the pain, the suffering, the agony that fan base, probably the most tortured fan base in my mind in sports history, probably, San Diego being pretty close. But more so with Cleveland, with the Indians not being good and losing the World Series in 2016. The Cavs obviously winning that first title in 2016. But again, their years of being close and not being very good. Then, of course, the Browns, who have been dubbed the factory of sadness. That this is a right step forward for this organization. And I know a lot of people probably bag on Baker Mayfield because of his attitude, his antics, how he carries himself. But honestly, much like the Padres, Baker Mayfield, to me, is what Cleveland has been missing, is a guy who's not afraid to kind of run his mouth a little bit. Maybe I get in trouble for it. But again, bring that confidence, bring that swagger, kind of play with some confidence, a little bit of, maybe rub some people the wrong way. But that, folks, in my mind, has been the missing ingredient with the Cleveland Browns for close to 20 years, as much as that was a missing ingredient for the Padres, with them not making the postseason in 14 years, was a player or players kind of in a way saying, hey, kind of in a way dust the shoulders off, play with some confidence, little swagger. Tony Gwynn, God bless his soul, told his kids at SDSU during the baseball season, play loose, work hard, have fun, play hard, but also play with some swag, play loose, play with some energy. And sometimes that can be a good thing. That can be contagious towards a ball club. When you have a guy kind of in a way playing that way. Now, yes, it probably does turn some people off, turn viewers off, turn away people, or probably you get all the comments of people saying, he's just arrogant, play the game the right way or act like you've been here before. Cleveland hasn't been there in 18 years. The Padres weren't there for 14 years. Let them enjoy it and let them kind of play with that swagger. Let them kind of, in a way, celebrate touchdowns, pimp home runs. Let them do what they want to do. And to the old anecdote of act like you've been there before does not apply anymore in my mind either. But more so for the Browns, though, this season for me, though, is a very big stepping stone forward. And probably the first big step forward that this club has made in a long time coming. But I just don't see, though, folks, without having the main guy in charge in Kevin Stefanski, this to me, though, could be probably a rough game. I do think, though, that the Browns are going to keep this game close, but it might be a matter, though, of that one mistake. And I think we've kind of have seen that, though, with Baker Mayfield, kind of been known to having mistakes made at the worst possible time, where that might turn the game on its heels. They might be down by one or we're still within striking distance of taking the lead or tying the game. And that one big mistake, though, might sadly ruin that game for the Browns, though. But even then, though, even if the Browns lose this game, There is no need for the great people of Cleveland, who have done their damnedest to stick by this franchise, who's been notoriously, they have been, notorious for losing, going through quarterbacks, going through GMs, going through head coaches, notorious for losing season after losing season, 0-16 seasons. There is going to be no reason in my mind for them to feel sad, depressed, disappointed. I mean, it's probably going to be raw if, in fact, this game goes the way of Pittsburgh, but that there is light at the end of this tunnel for this franchise. And the Browns may turn you away from watching their games because of Baker's antics and his attitude and his ego, even with OBJ being there and Myles Garrett. But again, that, folks, is a big-time missing ingredient, I feel like, in sports at the pro level, is guys don't want to kind of, in a way, rub fans the wrong way on any ball club, because it's either the social media banter or they don't want to be, fined perhaps. But, I mean, I don't want to kind of sound like I'm, that this is, to me, this might sound stupid more so than anything else I've said so far. But maybe that the Browns and Padres are bringing the fun back to football and baseball. Because I think if you are a casual baseball fan, casual football fan, and you see the Padres and Browns kind of, in a way, having these players that are, again, not afraid to kind of, run their mouth a little bit, pop off in perhaps good ways or bad ways, but in a way they'll bring that swagger, that energy that maybe has been missing in sports back to the games. I think you become a fan of that franchise, or at least, maybe a casual fan of that team, because of like, hey, they're fun to watch. They're exciting. There's energy. There's confidence. There's a little bit of this going on. Again, that's probably ludicrous in my mind or in your mind out there. But I think, though, at a time, though, where people are turning away from sports because either the games are too long, it's boring, or whatever they believe, though, to me, more so, this could perhaps bring people back into games if you're really taking me seriously here. But with that, though, plenty of thoughts here from the viewers. First and foremost, again, from Isaiah, more so about the Eagles situation. He says that Doug Peterson needs to be fired. Lost the locker room on Sunday night. You preach accountability, competition, giving all that you got, and fighting to the final whistle, and you decide to throw the game. He cannot stand up in front of his players again and tell them anything because they won't respect or believe him for what he says after Sunday. I'm going to roll that again for you folks. And to me, there is something very off, though, about this situation here. But let's, again, folks, roll you the clip again of Doug Peterson's postgame presser from Sunday after his team lost to Washington to ultimately give the Washington football team the NFC East Division title. Let's take a look.
Yes, I was coaching to win. Yes, that was my decision solely. Nate has obviously been here for 4 years, and I felt that he deserved an opportunity to get some snaps. And listen, if there's anything out there that thinks that I was not trying to win the game, I mean, Ertz is out there, Brandon Graham's out there, Darius Slay's out there. All our top guys are still on the field at the end. So we were going to win the game.
That, again, folks, was Eagles head coach Doug Peterson following the loss to the Washington football team on Sunday. Am I the only one out there that, in a way, thinks that that's just totally fake, basically? The body language, to me, is very deceiving. The us in between, I know I do that a lot, though. But to me, that's a coach who knows that he screwed this one up. But also the body language, his demeanor, the voice tone. For one, he wasn't comfortable being up there, for one thing. That's for damn sure. But also, that's a coach who I think knows that he, for one, lost the locker room and probably, in a way, is going to lose his job because of how this game is being perceived, though, across the board by everybody out there. But again, a valid point still brought up, though, by Isaiah Leung. Chris Wilson chimes in to say, as someone who has coached before, when you're that far down the field, that late in the game on fourth down and only down 3, you kick the field goal. You don't go for it in that spot. Chris, I think anyone out there that either has even played football, even if you played Madden or Tecmo Bowl or NFL Blitz, if you're that deep in your opponent's territory, you don't go for on fourth down when you're down by 3. Take the points and move on, but don't trust, I wouldn't say don't trust the quarterback, but don't go the route of trying to be cute and fancy and try to, add on points. Take the for sure 3 given and move on to the next play on defense. Chris also says, but if Eagles win, their first rounder goes from 6th to 9th. Sadly, man, but whoop-de-doo. That's 3 spots. I mean, it's not to me, man. To me, it makes no sense. And again, more so, it's more so my athlete side of me is saying, I would be furious with a coach who would go the route of, again, like I said though as well, Mr. Wilson, the last person that should be saying I give up on a game is your head coach. That is the last person that should be saying, no mas, I give up, we're done, I'm not going to do my job. If anything, the coach of a team should be in my mind, is compared to the captain of a sinking ship. You go down with the ship when it's going to sink. You go down with your ball club, just like the rest of those guys and those coaches would go down, losing or winning. But you don't throw the white flag. You are the last person that deserves to throw the white flag in my mind. More so, the head coach is much like a captain of a ship. You go down with your vessel when you are losing or when you lose in battle and your ship is sinking. You go down with that thing. You don't abort ship and jump into the ocean and look for a life preserver. That's what more so for me has rubbed me the wrong way about Doug Peterson, is that the head coach should be the last person to give up on a ball game. Players may do that, but the head coach should be the last person that should be able to do that, if you ask me. David Frecker, right again, saying, my man, Callan, good to see you. Of course, Dave, hopefully you are doing great, my man. I know it's been tough with no games to shoot for photog, but hey, man, it's all I can do for you and me both, man. Hopefully that COVID can kind of, in a way, let us get back to some sense of normalcy. And also, Chris says that the Cavs were good once. And also, Christy says, what has happened to the Browns just sucks. I mean, honestly, Christy, I agree. And more so, to kind of add on to that point, though, about the Browns and Padres, here the Padres clinched their first playoff berth, Christy, in 14 years, and they lose not one but 2 of their bona fide aces of their rotation in the playoffs. They have to go through 3 games of basically having the bullpen carry that piano through round 1. Then, of course, the Dodgers come in and sweep them. But again, 3 straight games, though, of bullpen games for the Friars. So sadly, when good things happen to Cleveland and San Diego, sadly, that's how things have been. James also says, how convenient that the Browns lose their head coach playing Pittsburgh. Hopefully the Browns can win despite the losses on the staff. I still give them a shot, James, but it's I think right now, kind of a bit of an uphill climb because of the nature of what you're talking about. Again, losing your head coaches due to the injury, or not the injuries, but more so due to the nature, again, of the coaches being lost. And then Christy also says, but then again, I sympathize because the Cowboys had 3 assistant coaches and 1 player not play because of COVID issues. Chris Wilson, it's a very Browns thing to do, going to their first playoff game in almost 2 decades, laughing out loud. I mean, that's what we basically have agreed upon here as well, Mr. Wilson. Also, James says, wouldn't it be odd that the other Browns coaches have to coach from the booth? I believe we've seen that happen once already. I might be wrong on that, though, but it would not be I think they've already in fact, moved a coach, or at least kind of named like a interim coach for this game, who I believe is a coordinator up in the booth. So that probably would be the case. James, though, I will say, though, I think a lot of us out there would have agreed. Give me your thoughts, though, folks. Would it have been better, though, for coaches, mainly the head coach, to be up in the press box maybe this season and off the sidelines due to, again, the COVID nature? I don't know if it would have really made that much of a difference, but maybe. John Alcorn has plenty of thoughts. He says, Callan, I agree with you, but I think the Browns running game is going to be the biggest factor for the entire Browns team in this playoff game. This puts more pressure on Baker Mayfield in his opinion. Baker is going to have to be that leader in this game. He is fun to watch, believe me. to watch. Lucky said the energy and the swagger. And also as well, some thoughts as well rolling in. Chris Wilson also chimes in to say, this game also comes down to which Pittsburgh ball club shows up. If it's the same ball club that showed up, though, with those 4 losses, Cleveland pulls off the upset and wins the ball game. James also says, I'm interested to see how Big Ben plays after taking a week off, hoping Myles Garrett in the D like getting to Ben. We'll see how things go, but I think that Myles Garrett is going to have those guys in tip-top shape and ready to go when the bell rings. John also chimes in to say, players should not be afraid to be themselves. And James agrees with me, though. Callan, that is actually not a crazy comparison to the swagger of both the Browns and Padres. Whew, glad that one actually made sense. John also says, I don't think it was his decision in that press conference. He was so shocked that the front office made him do that. Just a crazy theory, no proof. Shrug, shrug. Again, definitely perhaps as well. James also chimes in to say, odd to make that QB change just because Nate has been with the team longer. I think Cowherd said it better, though. Imagine, guys, imagine everybody, if Bill Belichick would have gone the route of having Ryan Mallett start games during that time of the Super Bowl runs for the Pats because he had to get snaps. Again, a lot of moving gears with the story, folks, with the Eagles right here and right now. And also, Trevor Williams pops in to say, Captain Kirk would go down with the ship, with a ship emoji. I absolutely love it. And also, John Alcorn says, nobody should give up in a game. It's a sport. Take it seriously, no matter the outcome. Thank you for answering my question and for at least addressing that point. Chris Wilson's in full agreement. He says, Cal and I agree that no matter what, you try to win even if you're down 50. I just hope that this didn't turn into a front office intervention of some kind. We have seen that happen before. Football and baseball are probably the 2 big ones, Chris, that stick out to me more so, with GMs kind of dictating baseball lineups in the World Series. More so, to me, though, more so, this to me seems to be a very, very interesting one because of the nature of things that have gone on. That was there some front office involvement maybe before this game? Again, folks, like I've said those so many times here, we don't know the full scoop here. We don't know what's happened or what did happen. So there could be a lot of theories out there, but we're probably not going to know for a while, maybe not even know ever, maybe, at this rate. And also, John says as well, the running attack will separate the Browns away from Pittsburgh. And he also says, how about them Cowboys? So close, yet so far again. Casey King is back. He says, Callan, I do think that they should try it out with the coaches in the press box. Going to be tough game for Cleveland. Hope they pull it off, but I think it's going to be tough to win in Pittsburgh. But it will be a close game. That's all that you can really, really hope for is a close game. And Chris, I agree, buddy. This could be an ever-developing story, honestly, especially, I think, as well, Wilson, because you're talking about reports coming out on Monday night of 2 players having to be restrained from going and just, totally either chewing out Doug Peterson or knocking his lights out, in which would have been a very disturbing and ugly scene for the league and for the Eagles organization. But again, we'll see how things do, in fact, move at this rate as we approach the top of the hour here, folks, where we cut out for a quick break and come on back for another hour of coverage here tonight. With that, though, folks, over to some predictions for Wild Card Weekend again, as we have a triple header Saturday and Sunday. And of course, I've already filled out my bracket and filled out my predictions already for the upcoming week of games this weekend, starting on Saturday and on Sunday. We'll first start, though, folks, in the AFC, 4 versus 5, Tennessee and Baltimore from Nissan Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee. I am going to go with Tennessee. I do, though, think this is a great quarterback matchup between Lamar Jackson and Ryan Tannehill. But I do think that this game, to me, goes to the Titans because of the running game differential and that the potential league MVP in Derrick Henry is on this Tennessee roster. I like the Titans, plus they're at home, but also that can Lamar Jackson finally jump that playoff hurdle? Folks, we see this so many times in sports where you have a great team or a great player who has great regular seasons, but they just can't jump that hurdle. Best example, folks, in the NFL, the Buffalo Bills. 4 straight Super Bowl appearances, 4 consecutive losses in those Super Bowls in the early 90s. To me, Lamar Jackson, sadly, is going to, could be going down that path. But I like what Lamar has. I like his skill set. I like him as a player. But can Baltimore's defense really stop Derrick Henry? I don't know if Derrick Henry's really been stopped a lot in games. I mean, he's basically been just, bullying his way for every single yard. I think he eclipsed 2,000 yards over the stretch of the weekend. But to me, this game boils down, though, to Derrick Henry versus Baltimore's defense. I like Derrick Henry. I like Tennessee at home to win this ball game over the Ravens. Next game for me, folks, is Pittsburgh and Cleveland from Heinz Field down there, or out there, I should say, in Pittsburgh. I like the Steelers because they are at home. I know, of course, they've been more so down over the past several weeks. Again, they've had 4 losses after a great start. But of course, the week off to kind of get guys back to playing and stuff of that nature. Cleveland, to me, though, without Stefanski, without some of those players, I still like Pittsburgh because more so it's the home field advantage. Yes, there is no true home field advantage right now because of no fans in Pittsburgh, I believe, right now. But that's something, though, like I said, though, something about Pittsburgh up here with certain ball clubs, it doesn't go very well. I like Pittsburgh at home. Next game, though, as well, is the Bills and Colts from Bill Stadium out there in Orchard Park, New York. Buffalo is my pick to probably, in a way, still play well. Now, I know that they just put up 56 points on the Dolphins. And usually you are a little bit concerned, though, in any sport about a team who scores a lot of points one night. And it's like, fellas, save some for next week or your next game. Because usually that next game, it's going to be a very rough day at the office. But I like the Bills, though, because the Colts, to me, though I still love my guy Phillip Rivers and Frank Reich, there's going to come a point, though, where Rivers is going to perhaps make a mistake at the worst possible time in a big situation, much like I said about Cleveland. Phillip Rivers has been known, though, and I've seen it plenty of times, though, of interceptions at the worst possible time for the Colts and for any team he's playing for. So I like Buffalo to win to round out the AFC part of Wild Card Weekend. Over, though, in the NFC, 4th-seeded Washington, 5th-seeded Tampa Bay. Though the football team is at home, you can't count out Tom Brady. I like Tom Brady, and I like the Bucs to win on the road, more so because I still am very concerned about Alex Smith's health for the long-term well-being. Because how's it going to be? Because there's no one really there, I think, to be that safety net. Because if someone can help me out here, who's the backup right now for Washington with Dwayne Haskins Jr. being gone? Is it Chad Henne? I forget who it is, but there's no safety net if, in fact, Smith gets knocked out of this game. I will go with Tampa Bay to win this game, but more so because I have a lot of concern, I think, more so for Washington, though they're at home. Next up, though, for me, Seattle and the Rams from Lumen Field in Seattle. I still enjoy and like Seattle because the Rams, to me, though, the big question mark, though, is Jared Goff going to pull a Willis Reed and play this game hurt because of him having that thumb injury suffered against the Seahawks 2 weeks ago with him banging the top of the helmet after his throw. I like the Seahawks. I know they're probably not the most complete team right now on defense at this rate. And also the Rams have a very good defense. But I still like Seattle because of the home field advantage, but also that Russell Wilson, to me, still I think gets a nod. But also the reason why, though, quarterback. Who is it going to be for the Rams? Will it be Jared Goff pulling a Willis Reed, playing hurt with that bad thumb? Or will it have to be John Wolford again, who I think had a phenomenal game against the Cardinals this past Sunday, more so running the ball than throwing? I like Seattle to still win that game over the Rams. And finally, for Wild Card Weekend, the Saints host my beloved Chicago Bears. I like New Orleans in this ball game. Home field for one thing, but also Chicago only got in because of the Cardinals losing. Though I will say, though, Chicago, though, but even like I may have said, though, folks, Chicago getting in, though, doesn't really surprise me because of how they played. Because I even said, maybe a couple times on here, after they had lost to Detroit, though, I thought, okay, they'll beat Houston. they'll beat Jacksonville, but they're not going to beat Green Bay. Sure enough, beat Houston, beat Jacksonville, get crushed by Green Bay. But because of that Rams win over the Cardinals, that gives the Bears the final seed, though. But, though, this will sound stupid, maybe. But Mitch Trubisky seems to be the guy again. And I know it's been a very chaotic year for Bears fans like Foles and Trubisky and Nagy and Ryan Pace, and it's a headache and a half, believe me. I mean, I have headaches listening to the games every Sunday, listening to the games on WBBM here in San Diego via the online feed. But that more so for me, though, is, I think a lot of you would agree, though, where was this offense for the entire season? You know, where was this play from Trubisky and David Montgomery and Allen Robinson and Darnell Mooney several weeks ago? Now, I know that New Orleans has had two very bad breaks in the postseason over the past couple of years. But Drew Brees, to me, though, is not going to let that happen for a third time. But also, if Alvin Kamara is going, Chicago's defense could be in for a very long night at the office down there in the Big Easy. So I like New Orleans to win. So to recap my picks, folks, for Wild Card Weekend, Tennessee, Pittsburgh, and Buffalo, Tampa Bay, Seattle, and New Orleans are my picks for the upcoming triple headers of games coming up as we get ready to get into the upcoming weekend of wild card action. Plenty of thoughts from our great viewers out there. By the way, folks, want to quickly, before we get to our last segment here for this first hour and go into our final hour of the program, is, again, folks, thank you all very much for being here tonight. This means a lot for the reopening of the Sports Lounge here after 8 years of being away. Couple of thoughts about this game. First, Christy will go with Tennessee. John Alcorn says that Baltimore gets exposed. He'll pick Tennessee. Chris says Titans-Ravens will be about who makes more big plays between Jackson and Derrick Henry. Great point. And great observation. Also, as well, Tyler Work says Titans-Ravens over-under 400 combined rushing yards. Derrick Henry may get over 400 maybe by himself, but I'll take the under for right now. Chris also says that Derrick Henry is a man beast and is my vote. He gets my vote right now for league MVP. Isaiah says if Goff does play for the Rams, I think that the Rams have a shot to upset Seattle. The Rams D has been stout all season, and they have given Wilson and the Hawks issues. And if Goff just doesn't turn the football over, he believes that the Rams offense could have a big day against the that Seahawks defense as one of the worst in the NFL. Perhaps we'll see how things go, but more so, can the Rams defense more so step up though and kind of keep Lockett and Metcalf at bay, and also keep Wilson at bay as well? Casey will have Pittsburgh or Buffalo over Indianapolis, Baltimore in a squeaker over Tennessee, Steelers in a squeaker over the Browns. He has the New Orleans beating Chicago, Tampa over Washington, and the Rams beat Seattle in a close one as well. James also said, or John also says, I should say, Lamar Jackson hasn't been beaten any legit teams, and Lamar Jackson hasn't improved as a passer. He also says, Callan, great show so far, almost to the hour mark here. Christy will go with the Bills. James says, too early to predict the games, but he'll go with Tennessee, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, but I want Cleveland, New Orleans, Seattle, and Tampa Bay. And also, as well, James says he will take the under, but that's close, about the 400 yards per rushing combined. And also, to clarify about the quarterback, Chris says that Chad Henne is in Kansas City. It is Taylor Henneke, who is the quarterback for the Washington football team, with Steven Montez as the third-string QB for the Washington football team. And also, John says that Breeze is terrible in the postseason, and the Saints usually choke in the playoffs, but more so, I think more so choking because of two bad calls, I'd say, though, as well, in the postseason party at this point in time. With that, folks, we are approaching 1 hour down. One more hour to go. So again, folks, keep those comments and questions coming. We'll do our best to, again, read those as time does go on. We'll take you all, folks, step aside for a brief moment. Let me catch my breath. We'll come back here roughly in about a minute or so and get back into hour two. We'll have plenty of more discussion. We'll have updates, or not updates, but we'll talk about the Heisman Trophy winner, the national title game, and also talk some baseball, talk some NBA, and also talk some hockey and some soccer coming up here in a few moments here, folks. This is the Sports Lounge in our debut in return after 8 years away here, folks, inside the MI6 Sports Network. We'll take a break, folks. We'll be right back in a brief moment following this quick transition into hour number 2. So please do not go away. Yeah, congrats on the Big Ten title, but again, you were gifted that championship. Tampa has a bigger sense of urgency to win because, as I mentioned, else on any roster, any given, but it's just more so the one page that I've been looking at all night and stuff of that nature. He sacked 70 times this of Simmons and Embiid. Trying to fall for the network. The conference Oilers went to Tennessee and became the Titan. The NBA had, Major League Soccer had, the W. If the Bears don't reach All right, folks, welcome back. Hour 2 of the relaunch, reopening, whatever you want to call it, debut program here, folks, of the Sports Lounge. After 8 years of being closed, we are back, folks, with you every Tuesday night from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock Pacific time, talking all things sports across the local and national levels. And again, folks, we thank you all so much. Again, it's been a very awesome night seeing all of you great viewers out there, friends, family, coworkers, you name it. This is some great stuff, seeing all of you folks pouring in for the first episode of the Lounge. Again, folks, we will be with you here every Tuesday, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock Pacific time here, talking all things sports. And again, taking your live questions and commentary throughout the course of our program. It's been just simply, folks, incredible seeing you folks again chiming in and joining me here tonight. We've had 15 reactions. We've been topping out about 15 live viewers. So again, folks, we got one more hour to go. And again, we invite your input to keep the program going here as the time does in fact move on. But again, folks, questions, comments, concerns in the live chat box, or follow me on Twitter at CallanMac3 or at CallanMac Sports. And again, we'll be having this program's Facebook page and also the Twitter account also come back online as, again, we get more time built up here, back here inside of the MI6 Sports Network. With that, though, folks, over in college football, Devontae Smith of the Alabama Tide, Crimson to be exact, is your 2020-21 Heisman Trophy winner, beating out the likes of his fellow teammate Mac Jones, Kyle Trask, among notable names. You know, folks, more so with this one, I'll keep it kind of brief here because we'll get to the national title game, my thoughts on the national title game here very shortly and get to some more of the other stuff going on here. Is what a season. You know, I think that there was probably 3 legitimate Heisman Trophy finalists here for the for Alabama. Mac Jones, Najee Davis, and also, or Najee Harris, I should say, and also with Devontae Smith. But the single year though is excuse me, the year that Smith had though this year, absolutely phenomenal. You know, flawless year, but of course more so phenomenal season. Now I know a lot of people probably looked at maybe Kyle Trask of Florida, maybe someone else along the line though, but I mean, honestly, I don't know if you feel this way, though, folks. But to me, though, recently it has seemed, though, that the Heisman has kind of more so been all about quarterbacks more than actual other guys that are playing different positions, where it's kind of been about Burrow and Mayfield. And again, more so Heisman, to me, though, recently that Heisman Trophy winners have gone more to quarterbacks like Burrow, you know, guys like that. But I think it's a refreshing change, though, to kind of see this go the route, or see the award go the route of a wide receiver or a running back. And again, not seeing a quarterback win this thing, because to me, though, it's kind of been a little bit redundant that it's the, you know, a Heisman Trophy, but it's kind of been very focused on the flashy quarterbacks. What about those running backs? Or what about the receivers? What about defensive players? You know, why are they all of a sudden, or why have they been kind of in a way been left out as time has gone on in voters' minds? Now, I think that James has a good point here. He says, to him, it's odd for a wide receiver to win the Heisman, but had a feeling, though, that he could actually win it. James, I would agree, though, but if you could kind of go a bit further in depth, though, about why it kind of feels odd, I think that you and I would share the same sentiments, though. It's odd, I think, that it's going to a wide receiver because of how dominant the quarterback spot has been for the Heisman Trophy. Where I think more so it's been about quarterbacks more so kind of being the main guys, but Kyler Murray, Tim Tebow, notably Mayfield, Joe Burrow. To me, more so, this is kind of not really odd, but more so a little bit interesting. But I think, though, that the Heisman is a lot like the most valuable player award in sports. It should not be based on a player's stats, but what is the value to the team? What is that? That's what I think a lot of people miss about the MVP vote is it's not all about the numbers. I mean, it has a part of it, but where is the value? What is the actual value of Devontae Smith to this Alabama offense? For example, again, kind of in a way comparing that MVP stature or that MVP status to the Heisman. Where is the value if he's not there? Yeah, I know about Mac Jones and Najee Harris, but where else is that line drawn? But also, I think that it kind of in a way like MVP votes, more so when you have multiple players from one program or programs in general who are a part of the ballot, they take votes away from each other. We saw that with Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis Jr. with the Padres this year for NL MVP votes, Bellinger and Betts with the Dodgers, but more so here you had three players. You had Harris. In my mind, I think it should have been Harris, Smith, and also with Jones. They all, in a way, kind of canceled each other out as this, in fact, went on, in my mind. But more so, again, props and congrats to Devontae Smith, again, from Alabama, the 2020-21 Heisman Trophy winner. And as Tyler points out, first whiteout to win the Heisman since the man himself, Desmond Howard, back in 1991. Christy Wilson adds on. She says that I thought that Trevor Lawrence was going to win the Heisman, but I'm not mad over Smith winning it either. I mean, I thought Lawrence would have, but I think more so, sadly, Christy, this award, I think, also kind of in a way, to me, sometimes goes the route of somebody whose program goes farther in the college football playoff. And with Lawrence's team being stuck in the mud and losing in round one, that's where I think Lawrence was doomed. Plus, sadly, this may sound ludicrous, him missing that week when they lost to Notre Dame because of COVID may have. Keyword here is may have. Bold that, italicize it, underline it, and shadow it. That may have, in my mind, also took votes away from Lawrence as well. James also says that I guess no quarterback really stood out in the Heisman race this season. QBs or running backs always win, sadly. 9 times out of 10 they do. Tyler also chimes in. Smith becomes only the fourth non-quarterback to win the Heisman in the past 21 years. The other three listed were all running backs: Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram, and Reggie Bush. Great points there. And also John says, huge value that they lost two wideouts in the 2020 draft. And also James says, also if Devontae Smith didn't play at Alabama, he wouldn't have won the award. Helps to be on a winning or on a winner. Fair observation. And James also said, Lawrence missing the game because of COVID definitely hurt. I think so. I mean, that probably doesn't weigh heavy in people's minds. And also as well, John Alcorn says, more so about the Saints again, but he also says, by the way, folks, he says, count as someone you want in your life doing great. Great to hear. And again, great to have all of you great viewers out there joining me here. Again, first of many to come, hopefully, every Tuesday here on the MI6 Sports Network, inside of the Sports Lounge, back in business after 8 years of being away from the viewers out there. With that, though, folks, to some of my thoughts and a preview of the national title game coming up on Monday. Ohio State and Alabama playing for the all the marbles on Monday at 5 o'clock Pacific time. To me, folks, I know that this is a game, though, that obviously I have felt a little bit, wrong about. I didn't get a chance to say my piece on Monday because if you folks know, probably from my open video and also from a past show, that I basically went on a very long, rare rant that I thought that Ohio State didn't deserve to be in the college football playoff because of the rules being changed to kind of let them get in, plus the conference taking Indiana out. to put the Buckeyes in. And I will face the music here, folks, and say I was wrong because of how they played against Clemson. But also, like I also had added on, though, folks, on a program last week, the last thing you want to do in sports is give the opposition any reason to come out extra motivated. That, folks, solely rests on the shoulders and at the feet of Dabo Swinney, who went out there again had his very long interview with SportsCenter, and also the comments of him saying, I had them ranked 11th and stuff like that. The last thing you want to do in sports, pros, college, high school, travel ball, rec ball, intramural, the last thing, folks, you want to do in sports is give a team extra motivation to play better. And Dabo Swinney's comments, of course, they should be 11th. They're 11th in my poll, shouldn't be there. Whether it's Dabo's criticism, whether it's Callan McClurg's criticism of Ohio State, that's the one thing you don't want to do in sports is give a ball club or a team extra motivation to win a game. Now, at this rate, though, folks, while Ohio State had a very impressive win over Clemson, to me, though, I still like Alabama because of two main reasons. One, COVID has now hit again with Ohio State with a couple of their very big pieces being out for this game because of COVID. Plus, I am concerned about Justin Fields' health after that targeting call where he took that shot right to the ribs, and he was down for a while. Now, I know he kind of came back and played great, though, as that game went on, though. But I have to wonder, is this a Drew Brees type of situation brewing here where you're talking about maybe cracked ribs, broken ribs, a lung issue, where to me, though, just one hit from this Alabama defense to that area of Justin Fields, to me, that, in my mind, could spell disaster. But also that, in my mind, I know that this probably will be this is going to be a close game. But to me, though, Mac Jones, Najee Harris, and also with Devontae Smith, that I think that Ohio State matches up well with Fields, Trey Sermon, and Chris Olave. But to me, though, Alabama, just still seems to be the right team, or to me, seems to be the team that is going to win this ball game. Because that, to me, it's close, but it's kind of like me giving Magic Johnson a high five several years ago, where Alabama's here and Ohio State, to me, is right here. They're close, but not quite there. Head and shoulders maybe, but that it's going to be probably, in my mind, one of the better title games in recent memory. But also, it's going to boil down, though, folks, to who makes that first big mistake. I say this a lot, though, about games like this in the in the NFL or in college. Games like this boil down, though, to who makes the first big mistake. That first interception, that first fumble lost, first bad penalty of a ball game. This will be a bend but don't break game until there's one mistake that ruins it for everybody and ruins this ball game for someone. But I do like Alabama, but a very close game down the stretch, though. But I think that with Ohio State, though, missing key pieces, plus the health of Justin Fields, I know it's probably not that big of a deal, though, folks, but I would be very concerned, though, if, in fact, he gets hit in that area. Again, left side, the ribs, his back in that area. I would be kind of concerned, though, about his health, because I think the last thing you want to see happen is see him get knocked out of the ball game and Alabama just runs away with it right there. I think that Bama wins, though, but more so because I have a lot of concern, though. I know he played through the pain, though, and had those 6 touchdowns. But what happens the next time if he gets hit once in that area or gets hit twice? What if it becomes a thing, though, that builds and builds and builds, though, and it does, in fact, knock him out of the ball game? To me, though, it's a very rough, tightrope to watch if you're Ryan, a tightrope to walk if you are Ryan Day. But again, folks, national title game coming up on Monday, the 11th, between Alabama and the Ohio State University. Some thoughts here. Christy Wilson says, I pick the Ohio State University to win the ball game. James says, I want a tie. Don't like either school. Ha ha ha. Don't see that happening, sadly, my man. James also says Doug Peterson and Dabo making bad decisions to start 2021. I, sir, cannot agree any further. That sadly is how things have been right now, early in 2021. James also says that Bama should win handily. They are just too much of a machine to lose this ball game. But again, folks, give us your thoughts more so about the upcoming ball game between the Buckeyes and Tide in the national championship game coming up in just over a week. With that in mind, though, folks, some baseball news to get to. The LA Dodgers, reigning 2020 World Series champs, have re-signed Blake Trinan to a very interesting 2-year deal worth $17 million per reports gathered tonight on this Tuesday. Folks, I have said this for a while here, is the Dodgers, I think, started a very good trend, though, of addressing the bullpen, because that, to me, kind of seems to be their only minor hiccup so far right now, minus Justin Turner in the third base situation right now, with him perhaps being with him being a free agent. But also, more so for me, if I'm the Dodgers, you can probably find a third baseman, whether it's DJ LeMahieu or someone in the pipeline, to play third. Maybe it's Max Muncy. But for me, though, looking at the Dodgers right now, offense and starting pitching should be the least of your concerns right now. You have got to fix this bullpen, because I think that Dodger fans, minus them winning this past season, are getting a wee bit tired of the tired act that is Kenley Jansen, regular season, postseason, spring training even, because he's not been the same Jansen. Also, it's a matter, though, of who's next in line. This might be a good starting point with Trinan. But as I have said, though, folks, is Blake Trinan and Kenley Jansen, to me, though, they're too unreliable. Because we have seen, though, folks, so many times, though, mainly with Jansen more so, that he is the last guy you probably want out there. And I think if any of my Dodger fans are watching, I'd love to hear your thoughts about this. Is it time for the Dodgers to just finally say, enough's enough and move on from Jansen? Because I don't know if you want to continue to keep putting up, though, with the same tired act of having a lead and then having to sit on the edge of your seat, chew your fingernails off, and take a leave every night because of the unpredictability that is Kenley Jansen in the ninth inning. Now with Blake Trinan, though, folks, Trinan to me, though, seems to be okay. But to me, though, he could sometimes kind of be a Jansen 2.0, especially in games that are close. And I know, folks, that Trevor Hoffman said this once back during his time with the Padres in '98, where he had 53 saves and 54 chances. He once said that when you come into a game that's probably tied or you're down by a run, the adrenaline is quite not there. However, though, for me, though, with the Dodgers at least, the bullpen has got to be your number one priority. Forget the offense, forget the starting rotation. You're going to be fine offensively for a while and rotation-wise for a while. But if I was a Dodger fan, I'd be very concerned, though, about the bullpen. Julio Urias could be that guy in the ninth, maybe. They could perhaps move, Dustin May to me. Dustin May for me could be a Swiss Army knife. He could be a reliever or a starter. Maybe a bullpen, maybe a bullpen guy, maybe a bullpen day guy, maybe an opener, maybe down the stretch or down the pipeline as time does in fact move on. But to me, though, it's the ninth inning, it's the closer role for me that would have me concerned as a Dodger fan, but has me concerned as a sports, broadcaster and a baseball fan, is what do the Dodgers do? But more so, who's out there that could be that guy to close the door for the Dodgers in the ninth inning, not named Kenley Jansen? For me, though, Trinan seems to be a good eighth inning guy. But as I said, folks, so many times over the baseball postseason, because of how shaky and rocky that Trinan and Jansen were, I would not have gone to either of those two guys if my life depended on it. Because you don't know or didn't know which one of them was going to show up. Was it going to be, Trinan with Oakland where he was dominant, Jansen years prior? or stuff of that caliber. So again, for me, though, it's a very interesting talking point, but also it will be interesting to see what the Dodgers actually do if, in fact, things do, in fact, transpire with this. But again, if you're a Dodger fan, I'd love to hear your thoughts, though, more so about the Dodgers and their bullpen. But again, Blake Trinan back to LA on a 2-year deal worth $17 million. At this rate, James chimes in first. He says the Dodgers just have money lying around to give out, it seems. Again, James, but more so for me, though, it's got to be the bullpen. Forget the rotation and forget the lineup. I know about Justin Turner being a free agent. Maybe Max Muncy's not going to be back either. But you're still going to be fine. Fix the bullpen. That is all I would ask as a Dodger fan, is fix the bullpen. Forget the offense, forget the rotation, fix the bullpen. Because I think if you want to have a long run and repeat as World Series champs, you have got to clean up that mess that is the bullpen right now. And I think it's a good starting point, though. But again, I think still, though, that more work has to be done with that bullpen right now in LA for the Dodgers. Isaiah from behind the scenes writes in to say, don't like the deal, even though Trinidad stats say he's pretty good or did pretty good last season. He was very shaky and unreliable. I definitely think that's more so where things lie. Tyler Work does, in fact, write in. He says, Callan, it was time to move on from Jansen after 2017. I mean, it's been probably a long time coming, Tyler, but I think as we probably know, though, very well, though, man, maybe with teams like the Lakers, the Dodgers, maybe, they hang on to those fan favorite players for probably longer than they probably should have. That they probably should have been gone years after, a long time ago or whatnot. But I definitely agree, though, that it was probably time to leave Jansen behind after 4 years, or at least 4 years ago. And also, James also says, they'll keep Jansen until he blows a series-ending game. Very fair observation. With that, folks, we have some more sound here I wanted to play for you real quick. Again, kind of going back more so to the whole Doug Peterson situation, again, about him perhaps blowing that game or tanking for the Eagles. Folks, we have the response, actually, from Joe Judge, the head coach of the New York Giants, in wake of Doug Peterson's remarks. Here's what Joe said about the Giants missing out on the playoffs, but also his thoughts on the actions taken by Doug Peterson and the Eagles. Let's have a look and a listen.
Obviously, players have asked me throughout the day, and I just can't express that. I think one thing to keep in mind with this season is we had a lot of people opt in to this season. Okay. We had a lot of people opt in. All right. Coaches, players, that includes family members as well. All right. So to look at a group of grown men who I asked to give me effort on a day in, day out basis and to empty the tank, and then I can look them in the eye and assure them that I'm always going to do everything I can to put them at a competitive advantage and play them in a position of strength. To me, you don't ever want to disrespect those players and their effort and disrespect the game. The sacrifices that they made to come into work every day and test before coming in, to sit in meetings spaced out, to wear masks, to have shields over those masks, to go through extensive protocols, to travel in unconventional ways, to get text messages at 6:30 in the morning telling them practice is going to be canceled. We have to do a virtual day. Okay, to tell them, please don't have your family over for Thanksgiving. Please avoid Christmas gatherings. We know it's your wife's birthday. Let's make sure we put that one off to the off season. There's a number of sacrifices been made by all the players and coaches in this league. There's a number of sacrifices that come along as well with the family members of the people connected to them. To disrespect the effort that everyone put forward to make this season a success for the National Football League, to disrespect the game by going out there and not competing for 60 minutes and doing everything you can to help those players win, we will never do that as long as I'm the head coach of the New York Giants.
Strong remarks from Joe Judge, the head coach of the Giants, in wake, as mentioned, folks, of the Doug Peterson snafu that, of course, has, in a way, sent shockwaves through the entire sports world, again, about how the situation was handled with the Eagles and the and how they're, again, their handling of that, in a way, meaningless game for them, where, of course, the Giants had to perhaps have the Washington football team lose to have a chance to win the division title. James, I agree. He says, Joe Judge sounded like a straight shooter. No BS with Judge. Perfect response to that. I don't think he could have said it, though, any further or said it any better, James. Just due to, again, all those factors you listed again, being away from family, testing every day, early morning text messages, hey, practice is canceled because of COVID or whatnot. And that basically it was utter disrespect from Doug Peterson. So definitely a lot of valid points there given out over the stretch of the entire course of the weekend. And again, props to Joe Judge for that. And Christy, I agree. Joe Judge out here spitting the facts right there. Honestly, I don't know if Joe Judge, or I don't know if anyone out there could have said it any better than what Joe Judge said after his team wins a game, has a chance to win the NFC East Division title, and they see the Eagles kind of in a way pull a fast one to tank, blow the game, lose on purpose or whatnot. And for Joe Judge to just, spitball all that out there, not even reading a script like I do, or at least look at a sheet just to see what I'm, just to stay on time. And to hear that, though, and kind of in a way right from the heart, though, but more so talk about the obstacles, and not just his team, but even Doug's team, and every franchise had to overcome this NFL season with testing away from families. Don't celebrate Christmas. Don't celebrate Thanksgiving. Do what you have to do. Early mornings of texting everybody, hey, no practice, virtual. All those hurdles that probably are overlooked or probably blown out of proportion this year by the media or maybe by fans out there. I don't think that Joe Judge could have said it, folks, any better. Let's listen one more time to Joe Judge and again his response to the Eagles and again the potential Philadelphia tank job that was on Sunday. Here's Joe Judge one more time.
Obviously, players have asked me throughout the day, and I just can't express that. I think one thing to keep in mind with this season is we had a lot of people opt in to this season. Okay, we had a lot of people opt in. All right, coaches, players. That includes family members as well. All right, so to look at a group of grown men who I asked to give me effort on a day in, day out basis and to empty the tank, and then I can look them in the eye and assure them that I'm always going to do everything I can to put them at a competitive advantage and play them in a position of strength. To me, you don't ever want to disrespect those players and their effort and disrespect the game. The sacrifices that they made to come into work every day and test before coming in, to sit in meetings spaced out, to wear masks, to have shields over those masks, to go through extensive protocols, to travel in unconventional ways, to get text messages at 6:30 in the morning telling them practice is going to be canceled. We have to do a virtual day. Okay, to tell them, please don't have your family over for Thanksgiving. Please avoid Christmas gatherings. We know it's your wife's birthday. Let's make sure we put that one off to the off season. There's a number of sacrifices been made by all the players and coaches in this league. There's a number of sacrifices that come along as well with the family members of the people connected to them. To disrespect the effort that everyone put forward to make this season a success for the National Football League, to disrespect the game by going out there and not competing for 60 minutes and doing everything you can to help those players win, we will never do that as long as I'm the head coach of the New York Giants.
Again, folks, Joe Judge in his very strong remarks towards Doug Peterson and towards the Eagles organization. Again, just laying it out there about this year being this season for his team, but not just his team, but for every team in the NFL going through the hurdles of the testing protocols, the meetings, masks, face shields, practice time, those early mornings of having to tell the whole group, don't come to the facility, COVID reasons, don't come. And the sacrifice of, trying not to celebrate too many things or gather, and to see someone out there kind of in a way ruin it for everybody in a way because of maybe incompetence or whatnot. Again, Joe Judge, I don't think could have said things any better. And also James says, I remember when Joe Judge at his opening press conference, he mentioned he's a blue collar guy, wanted his team to be that way. He sounds like a blue collar man with passion in the clip you just played. I mean, that is a guy, James, that I would love to play for because of how, unlike Doug Peterson, Joe Judge says that stuff would not fly with my organization. And I think that James is on to a very, very great point, though. Should be interesting next season with the Giants and Eagles in a interesting handshake between Judge and Peterson if Doug is still the Eagles head coach. I mean, I don't know, man. I've always wondered, though, why there's always like police state troopers or like big, like high-ranking police or law enforcement with both coaches. There may need to be some more of those surrounding that post-game handshake between Judge and Peterson if they're obviously still coaching against each other next season. But James, get that popcorn ready, buddy, for that first game. Honestly, who out there would not love more than to see New York, Philadelphia, week 1 of the year in East Rutherford to kick off next season on the first week of the year? That would be fireworks and a mind grenade explosion if that game actually did come to fruition here at this rate. That first game is going to definitely be boom goes the dynamite, if you ask me. But again, folks, that was the remarks, at least, though, from Joe Judge, the head coach of the New York Giants. With that, folks, some big-time NBA news. Kevin Durant will likely miss some time here coming up for the Brooklyn Nets due to COVID-19 protocols and health and safety measures. Durant could be sidelined for 4 games coming up here due to, again, some COVID issues plaguing the Nets right now and also him at this rate. Folks, like I have said, though, and I said this earlier in the show tonight, is change of scenery helps athletes every so often. Now, I know that Kevin Durant has kind of, in a way, gotten a very, very bad rep over the past several years, though, due to, again, the nature of him jumping from OKC to the Warriors, winning a ring there, winning 2 rings there, and then going from there to Brooklyn. But, folks, though I've had my concerns, you basketball fans probably had your concerns, though, about Kyrie and KD coexisting, plus kind of in a way, though, how they kind of threw Steve Nash under the bus earlier in the offseason. So far, though, so good. However, though, now it's a little bit of some concerning times, though, in Brooklyn, because now you're talking about Durant being out for 4 games, but a major blow, though, is Spencer Dinwiddie being out for an extended period of time due to an injury suffered over the weekend. That, folks, could be a very, maybe not looked upon, but a very big looked upon injury, because Dinwiddie, folks, has been a very key cog of this Brooklyn team. Offense, defense, off the bench, energy, you name it. And a very key reason, though, why the Nets, though, have kind of, in a way, been on the upswing, especially last season, though, because of his play. But now, though, Durant being out and now also Dinwiddie being out for a long period of time, this, I believe, folks, becomes the first major hurdle and first major test of the year, though, for a first-year head coach in Steve Nash to kind of, in a way, get this club back on the right track, though, especially, though, right now with the Sixers right now kind of just dominating right now in the Eastern Conference. But, folks, I know this is probably not the best question to ask here, but are these 4 games, though, for Brooklyn in your mind very crucial because of Durant being out, but also the condensed NBA season being 72 games? Now, I know, of course, you don't really take too much stock into games being played in October or November, but maybe, though, is this still perhaps a not really make or break, though, but maybe maybe a bad time for this to happen to a ball club, though, like the Brooklyn Nets, where, again, you're looking at Irving and Durant playing well, but again, Dinwiddie being absent now because of an injury. Now Durant perhaps being out, though, for 4 games because of COVID issues. Where do the Nets right now, folks, stack up right now with this injury and also with Durant being out, though? For me, though, this should rock the boat, but this should not be one that brings the whole team down, because Kyrie Irving is still a pretty good leader in my mind, though he's turned people off recently over with his commentary and some of his, outlandish rubbish away from the floor, though. But I do think, though, in a very, right now, pretty competitive Eastern Conference, where, again, where I think, again, though, that the NBA Eastern Conference has gotten a very bad rap, though, over the past, I'd say, several years because of how loaded and star-talented and driven, star-wise, that the West is, with the Lakers, the Clippers, Golden State, now even the Suns, the Jazz, the Nuggets, the Wolves have something going there, Dallas even, and that the East has kind of not been the same, though, post-LeBron. even though that the East has always been recently kind of down because of the play. But now, though, you've got Brooklyn, you've got Boston, you've got Philadelphia playing great, you've got Cleveland playing pretty great, Miami playing pretty great, the Bucks playing pretty great. Is now, though, does this become a stretch, though, of games where maybe the Nets, though, kind of in a way, kind of start falling by the wayside? I don't think it's going to happen right here and right now, though. But if it begins to become a pattern, though, with Durant being out or him coming back after the 4 games, this, I think, raises some concern, though, about how, in fact, they may look, though, as, in fact, the next few games or the week goes on. But we will, though, see how things are, though. But again, folks, Kevin Durant likely to miss at least 4 weeks right now, or 4 games, I should say, 4 games due to some COVID protocol issues. James Gonzalez chimes in. He says the 4 games aren't crucial this early in the year, though. Utah, Philadelphia is going to be tough, but Memphis without Ja Morant and OKC having the worst record, Nets probably go 500. Utah's a very intriguing ball club, and I've said this, James, for a while here because of Gobert, Donovan Mitchell, Mike Conley, Joe Ingles, Quinn Snyder coaching that ball club. Of course, the Sixers are right now, pretty awesome story right now, but again, will that last, though, with Embiid and Simmons playing great under Doc Rivers? Memphis, of course, without Ja Morant, and of course the Thunder right now in a massive, massive rebuild right now. I could see the Nets going 2-2, maybe, just maybe 3-1. They might be able to pull off maybe an upset over the Nets or over the Sixers, I should say. But Utah seems to be perhaps a winnable ball game. Memphis, OKC, but I think that Philadelphia perhaps could be a bit of one that probably I think is a good measuring stick for Brooklyn at this rate. Once more, everybody, again, once more here. But the Nets will be without Kevin Durant for at least 4 games due to COVID-19 protocols right now, per reports gathered from the Brooklyn Nets organization at this rate. With that in mind, though, folks, excuse me. My goodness gracious. We will now, folks, move over into some hockey talk finally here to kind of course, the NHL season coming up on the horizon. But with that, folks, it was the final game of the IIHF World Junior Championships between Team USA and Canada from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And Team USA pulls things out. They knock off Canada 2-0 to win the gold medal up there in a empty Rogers Arena, I should say, in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. The same spot where the Stanley Cup Final was presented, or the Stanley Cup Final was played, actually, for the bubble restart, as Team USA knocks off Canada 2-0 after a great bounce-back game for goalie Spencer Knight, who, of course, had a very rough first game for Team USA against Russia. Folks, you know something? I even thought about this tonight, leading up to this game between Team USA and Canada, was that of how much, though, that this tournament may have sent you back in time to the 1980 Olympics, where you had Team USA not win their first game, but rattle off wins the rest of the way, though. Now, of course, that was a tie against the Swedes, though, in round 1, or their first game in 80. And, of course, you saw them kind of come out, sadly, against Russia. For one, kind of, I think, size-wise, ouch, height-wise, but also as well, the speed and quickness that they were kind of, in a way, not quite ready to play that game. But they came back, though, and they chipped away, though. But, of course, Russia came away with that victory, though. But then, though, much like in 80, they tie Sweden. They tie the first game, but then here they lose the first game. But yet, though, they dominate and they win the rest of the way out, though. And not just that, though, the all-around play of this team, though, spectacular stuff, though. Trevor Zegras, absolutely incredible play for the Ducks, first-round draft pick, 9th overall. He just continues, folks, to impress in so many areas with Team USA, or did this entire tournament. I think, folks, if you're a hockey fan, how do you not fall in love with a kid like Zegras, who is so dynamic in so many areas, and what he brought to the table this entire tournament, scoring and assisting and being that great, being a great forward, center, whatever spot he was playing in. But not just that, though. The resurgence, I think, and also the bounce back, though, as well, of Spencer Knight. Here, folks, he has a very rough first game, kind of in a way was a bit embarrassed because of some of the goals he let in against Russia. Pulled from that game, Dustin Wolf comes in, cleans up the mess, though, and he has probably, in my mind, one of the better bounce-back games that an athlete can have after a very rough game. And he pitches a shutout against Canada, and they win 2-0. But more so that, what a victory. And I know, of course, it's not a gold medal victory in the Olympics, but it's pretty damn close, if not just as good of a gold medal win for Team USA, to show, though, that the gap between the U.S. and the rest of the world in hockey is not that wide as it once was, and that it's kind of in a way dwindling down as time has gone on. And that's all, folks, you can hope for is progress being made here, but more so, super fun week of hockey. Great to see some hockey being played. Wanted to also shout out the players from the Ducks organization, but also not just that, though, Cam York, a California native who, of course, was named team captain by his teammates. But again, props to Team USA, and what a great game, though, as they knock off Canada 2-0 to win the gold medal in the IIHF World Junior Championships from Edmonton here tonight. Tyler agrees. He says the first time that Canada has been shut out in the gold medal game at the World Juniors. The last 4 times Team USA and Canada have met in the gold medal game, the U.S. is now 4-0 against the neighbors up north, and Tyler agrees. The tournament MVP, Trevor Zegras, got to be excited about him playing for the Ducks this upcoming season. He's on their training camp roster. It's going to be fun seeing this kid play, though, as the season does in fact near. But again, folks, Team USA is your 2020 IIHF World Champs. They knock off Canada in a great game, as mentioned, folks, tonight from Edmonton, Alberta, by the final score of the night of 2-0. And again, Tyler, I'd agree about Zegras, but more so for me, I'm the big fan of the knockdown comeback story of a player who, of course, has a rough game or a rough time in his career, though, and they are able, though, to come back, though, and have a phenomenal performance to get back on track. And I think that more so for me, it's Spencer Knight also needs to get some love, though, for how, in fact, his play was. Because, again, he had a very rough first game and, sat the bench, though, and then comes back out, though, in the gold medal winning game and has probably one of the best, if not the greatest, bounce back games that I've seen in my time watching sports as a fan. 12, rough first game, comes back, though, my guy, and pitches a shutout. And again, Florida, the Panthers have his rights. He's going to be fun to watch as, in fact, time does go on. And Tyler also says, how about 3 shutouts in a tournament for Spencer Knight? And again, bouncing back after that very rough first game against Russia. And he pitches not 1, not 2, but he pitches 3 shutouts. And also that third one comes against Canada to wrap up the gold medal for Team USA. And Christy, I agree as well. Congrats to Team USA. James Gonzalez also says, I'm watching some hockey clips about the hockey game and seeing some Canada players crying after losing. James, that reminds me vaguely, or a lot actually, of when Team USA, the women's team, beat Canada in Pyeongchang in 2018. We had the video come out after the Canadians had lost the gold medal, and we saw one of the players immediately after the gold medal was put on their neck take it right off. So, I mean, sadly, that still becomes a thing at this rate. But again, folks, congrats to Team USA. 2-0 U.S. over Canada as Spencer Knight pitches his 3rd shutout in the World Junior Championship tournament. And again, Trevor Zegras has a phenomenal tournament for Team USA on the offensive end, while again, Spencer Knight pitches 3 shutouts as Team USA wins another IIHF World Junior Championship gold medal. And I believe tonight as well that there was a 3rd place game played as well before the final between Team USA and Canada. But once more, the Americans take down the Canadians 2-0 from Edmonton on this Tuesday evening. Finally, folks, with the lounge tonight here, some news in Major League Soccer concerning the LA Galaxy, who again are naming a new head coach. It is former Galaxy player and former manager of Toronto FC. That is Greg Vanney, the next team's head coach, per announced by the club on Tuesday. Vanny steps in after resigning from his post with Toronto FC on December 1st, following a stellar spell with the Canadian side that lasted parts of 7 seasons. And prior to his time in Toronto, Toronto had never qualified for the MLS Cup playoffs, but under Vanny, the team became one of the elite sides in Major League Soccer. Via a team press release, Vanny says, "I'm extremely excited about the opportunity to coach the LA Galaxy. The Galaxy are an iconic club with a rich history in LA, MLS, and North American soccer over the last 25 years. I'm committed to working tirelessly for this club, our fans in Los Angeles, to win a championship, and look forward to this new challenge in my career, and I'm eager to get started," close quote. The position had been vacant with the Galaxy after Guillermo Barrios Chileto was fired with 3 games left in the season, a campaign that saw the team fail to make the postseason for the 3rd time in 4 years. Dominic Kiner, a Galaxy assistant for parts of the last 4 seasons, took over on an interim basis for the 2nd time in his tenure with the club. A source had also previously told ESPN's Jeff Carlisle that Kiner, a former coach with the San Jose Earthquakes, was also a finalist for the job. Galaxy GM Jens Tuklowski said that Greg is a part of the history of the Galaxy, and we are confident that he is the right person to lead our team moving forward. As mentioned, Vanny had spent 7 years with the Galaxy as a player. As of 2017, Vanny's Toronto team had won 3 of the MLS Cups, or MLS's big trophies, including the league title, the Supporters' Shield for the best overall record, and the Canadian Championship amongst the Canadian franchises in the league. They also reached the final on 2 other occasions, and also won the Canadian title in 16 and 18. His overall record with the Reds was 112, 82, and 56 at this rate. But his stint out of management was very brief in LA. He will attempt to bring the Galaxy back to its former glory, a history that includes 5 MLS Cups. During his time as a player with LA as a player, Vanny was part of sides that won the 98 Supporters' Shield, the 2000 CONCACAF Champions Cup, and the 01 US Open Cup, and was also part of DC United side that won the 07 Supporters' Shield. He also has experience playing with Team USA, the French side of Bastia, FC Dallas, and the Colorado Rapids as well. You know, folks, while the LA Galaxy may be the most well-known organization in Major League Soccer, this club has turned me off in a big-time way for many reasons outside of the coaching and the play, but also what has gone on, though, with this organization that has trickled down, though, to the bottom part of the club with a very deceiving incident that happened between the San Diego Loyal and their reserve squad, LA Galaxy 2, where the San Diego Loyal literally walked off the field after a racist remark was said towards a member of the San Diego side from a LA Galaxy player. But in general, though, folks, this LA Galaxy organization, who I was a supporter of for a long time, this club has turned me off in a big-time way for that incident away from the main club, but also the sheer incompetence of Chris Klein over the past several seasons of not going the route of some type of a successful run recently. This more so for me is what I have said, folks, for so many times. Former players usually don't make great coaches. Greg Vanny may be the exception to the rule with Major League Soccer because of his time going with Toronto. But for the LA Galaxy's sake, stop the nostalgia and stop bringing back players that obviously are part of your club history, but stop living in the past. Start living in the now, where you are right now at least light years behind your main rival in LAFC, where you have a club in actually playing in LA, not in Carson, but in downtown LA, right by the Coliseum, a team with a better coach in place, a better run ownership group, a better run front office, and a better run team on the field right now, led by Carlos Vela. You are losing your traction by a long shot in LA County. And also, for that matter, as well, losing that grip on it in the entire league, where you're seeing the league grow, but also you're seeing it, it's cracking at the seams, though, in my mind as well. But not just that, though, as well. For the Galaxy's sake, with also for LA, is with Dominic Kiner, who again was the interim head coach for the Galaxy, who also spent time with the main rival with the San Jose Earthquakes as a head coach. You know, sometimes you have to live to see yourself to be a villain, right? Forget the rivalry you have with San Jose, and more so for me, you had an internal option already at the helm, or a coach in place with Kiner. But if it really, though, to me, if this move boils down to the fact that Dominic Kiner was a head coach of the Galaxy's chief rival in San Jose, and they brought someone on the outside looking in, yes, great player with the organization. They picked a former player. They chose the nostalgia route over a coach who's been there twice as the head coach for LA, but also not just that, because he coached a rival organization. If it really, folks, boils down to that, then I have more reason to turn off the LA Galaxy, because you have a ownership group in AEG and Phil Anschutz, and also a GM who I believe in, Chris Klein, who I admire as a player with KC and the Galaxy, who has overstayed his welcome in the front office of soccer operations, going the route of reliving, hey, 25 years of soccer in LA County, 5 MLS Cups. Big flipping deal. It's time that this club goes the route of blowing out the nostalgia. You can keep bringing up 96 and bringing up 5 championships and all that good stuff, but when are you going to snap into reality and jump back into 2021, not 1996, not 2002 or 05 or 12 or 14? When are you going to realize, though, that the league is passing you by, and this is not MLS of your 5 championships? You have a club literally 17 miles away from you in downtown LA, who, in my mind, is light years ahead of you in LAFC. Better coach, better ownership, better roster, better team captain, better fan support in my mind as well. And also that the entire league, Colorado, Seattle, Columbus, Dallas, they're all passing you by as you just, kind of kick back and to say, yeah, 25 years, it's been great. 25 years, 5 championships, Landon, Robbie Keane, David Beckham. I mean, it's like, no. To me, this move is not going to work. This becomes a thing, though, where if you don't have another marquee name like a Zlatan Ibrahimovic or another Chicharito Hernandez coming to LA, to Carson, I should say, this club is going nowhere. And you're talking about a club who, again, 5 titles, yeah, but have missed the playoffs 3 times in the last 4 seasons. The last time they were in the postseason, they get beat by their main rival in downtown Los Angeles. They want to claim this is LA and we are LA. The main LA team playing in the City of Angels, they whooped you at their home stadium in the postseason. And you had Zlatan, you had all this great stuff, but you got obliterated. And for that matter, you lost your LA moniker when you got stonewalled by Carlos Vela and LAFC. To me, the move makes no sense. For me, more so, it may in fact help on the field, though. But for me, this is solely on Phil Anschutz and Chris Klein. Those are the 2 guys that I think are more so holding this club back from being what they once were. And I think a lot of people that are in fact maybe casual soccer fans are like, yeah, oh yeah, look at how great the Galaxy are. More so, it's how great the Galaxy were. If we're talking present day right now, I would take the product right here on January 5th, 2021. I would take the product of LAFC, Bob Bradley, Carlos Vela, and that ownership group. I would take that club right now over the Galaxy by a mile, and it's not even close with how apart both these clubs are right now, with either dysfunction, not hiring the right people, the roster being set up the way it is, and that, for me, the past several seasons, but more so with the Galaxy getting clobbered by LAFC in the Western Conference semifinals at Bank of California Stadium 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. Very recent, though. But with the Galaxy losing to the main rival in downtown LA, 5-3, that right there has me turning off this organization. Because it's one thing to live in the past about beating San Jose. Forget the Quakes. You got to start worrying about LAFC. And for me, LAFC has taken over as the hot soccer ticket right now in Los Angeles. Because as I mentioned, the coach, the ownership, the roster, the team captain, all of that in my mind should make people that are probably on the fence in LA lean towards LAFC. Forget the nostalgia, forget, the greatness that was the Galaxy, because right now the Galaxy, they are not even in the, they're not even in the current 2021 Galaxy. They're still back 25 years ago, 26 years ago, reliving the glory days of the Rose Bowl and Kobe Jones and all those guys. But again, folks, as mentioned, the Galaxy have named former Toronto FC head coach Greg Vanney, and former Galaxy member for that matter, Greg Vanney, to be the team's next head coach, per reports gathered today on this Tuesday. Again, Vanney steps in after resigning from his post as the head coach of Toronto FC on December 1st, where again he helped lead that club to a very good, some good success. Now, with that in mind, though, folks, maybe this does help the Galaxy on the field of play. But does the success carry over to a roster in Carson, LA, Carson, whatever you want to call it? To me, though, the success is going to drop dead, though, because it's literally Javier Chicharito Hernandez and a bunch of really unproven nobodies. Christian Pavon's pretty good, but a very bad goalkeeper in David Bingham, and not a lot of other key pieces around the Galaxy. That this team is in utter shambles. And again, like I've said, though, folks, so many times here, there's no reason to try to bring, to rekindle the past. It's not going to work going the route of bringing in players, like Beckham, Landon Donovan, Robbie Keane, because that's all I heard from Galaxy Twitter, Galaxy Facebook, Instagram, you name it, is, hey, Robbie Keane's inquired about the job. I'm thinking to myself, this franchise has got to be the absolute worst when it comes to reliving the glory days of the past. The glory days are over. Start worrying about losing, or, start worrying about LAFC. Start worrying about losing your grip on the City of Angels as it's, ever so slowly falling from grace, as is the Galaxy are at this point in time. Some thoughts real quick about this. Tyler Workforce says it was Finland beating Russia 4-1 in the third place game for the World Juniors tonight. Christy agrees that I wish him good luck with the Galaxy, but however, though, the Galaxy are becoming irrelevant. Teams like LAFC and Seattle are on the rise. Definitely agree with that as well. And also, James says, so much for the Nets going 2-2. They beat Utah 130-96 tonight. And James also says that the atmosphere that LAFC fans make at their games is outstanding. I've been a part of that twice, James. Absolutely unbelievable. True story. Went to my first game there against Colorado, Tim Howard's final game as a goalkeeper. And LAFC had just won the Supporters Shield for the best record in the entire MLS. And got a chance to take a picture with it. But every fan I met, though, and this is kind of maybe a contrast in styles of fan bases, but I went to a few Galaxy games. And more so for me, it was a fan base that really wasn't very, there was, some fans that kind of welcomed you in, though. But at the same time, it kind of was like, not like there was no cohesion amongst fans. But when I had gone to that LAFC game versus Colorado, I'm telling you, man, it was open arms. Hey, how's it going? First game, where are you from? Stuff like that. More of this, more so than what I would probably have seen, or what I had seen, though, at many games, though, up at Dignity Health Sports Park up in Carson. With that, though, folks, we'll wrap things up with our final thoughts. Final thoughts time here, folks, on this first episode. I cannot, folks, say thank you enough to everyone out there who has tuned in tonight again. It's been a very great show. My voice is a little bit shot, though, from me working last night, plus also doing the program here tonight. But you folks have made this a great night, though, to come back and get this program back on its feet. James, I agree, though, that LAFC fans never stop making noise. They don't. It's by the time the game kicks off, and about 5 minutes after the game concludes, noise is being done throughout the course of the ball game. With that, though, folks, we will sign off here for the night. Again, final thoughts, folks. Again, thank you all so much. We will do this again coming up, folks, next Tuesday at 8 o'clock Pacific time. We'll see you folks back here once more. But with that, everybody, one more quick thought here at the final buzzer. James says LAFC playing their games closer to an area that's being revived. Again, the Coliseum and, of course, as well, other areas involved as well. With that, though, folks, we will see you back here, as mentioned, next Tuesday for the Sports Lounge in our second episode, but also back here tomorrow on Wild Sports Talk at 7:30 p.m. But with that, though, folks, the Sports Lounge is officially closed for the evening, folks. Until next time, have a great night. We'll see you folks back here on Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, folks. Take care and good night. Bye-bye.